Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 97. We're a pop culture podcast that talks about pop culture things. There's a lot of popping in there. And
Say that like
sometimes
10
there's
times
whiskey.
fast.
I know. I feel like I definitely said pop too many times in there somewhere. Popcast on the
Pop,
Rocks. We talk about pop culture things. And sometimes there's whiskey.
pop.
My name is John. That lady over there that's popping is Andrea, as always.
Oh my
Um,
god, I've never
welcome.
received such a compliment. Just over here popping.
You be popping. And then we also have returning guest Emily. Welcome.
Yay.
Hello. Hi.
I feel like your background is it's whimsical in a way,
That's what
Mhm,
that's what I'm going for. Little
Nice.
whimsy,
mhm.
icy cold day, a little pop of sunshine.
Yeah, more
Way to
pops.
work pop in there. Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking today about Raised by Wolves season 2, episodes 5 and 6. We'll get there later. So if you are not caught up on that, don't worry about that at the moment. We'll get there and then we'll be full on spoilers when we do. Before that, a couple news stories, and I think there's some drink holidays, Andrew. You got a lot listed here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you think there's some? There's quite a few.
Yeah.
And I didn't even list all I could have. So bringing you back to the end of February, because we had our last show before the end of the month. February 27th was both National Kahlua Day and my personal favorite, National Body Shot Day. Because why not? Why not
Mm-hmm.
throw it back, make yourself feel young again, do a body shot, see if you can
Mm-hmm.
find someone. Um,
You, hey, how about you? You wanna do a body
it's a
shot?
national holiday,
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
do it. um, so yeah, so that was if you wanted to celebrate the end of the shortest month, that's the way to do it. National Body Shot and National Kahlua Day.
Well, I'm expecting
Uh
Chris to come in here, Andrea, now and,
he
make
does
this
need to come
happen.
in here to give me my phone back, so I'll just, quick throw
Okay.
him down.
Right now.
This is for the podcast, honey.
Yeah.
um, but if you're so that was the way to celebrate the end of February. If you're into celebrating the first of this month, March, the first day was Mardi Gras 2022. And then March 2nd was International Irish Whiskey Day, which
Nice.
obviously also one of my favorite days.
Mhm.
So that is
So
why
what are
I'm
you drinking?
celebrating. I'm celebrating by drinking a whiskey sour.
Oh, no! Oh, man, I would have been
Yeah.
out of so much money if I
Uh,
Oh,
pre-show, I was telling everybody that, I would place money on what Andrea is drinking tonight,
ooh, what did you
and
think I was drinking?
I thought it would just be a whiskey ginger.
mhm.
Such a
Ooh,
classic, such a staple,
close.
I feel like,
Yep,
yeah.
close,
Mhm.
close. No, I felt like throwing it all the way back
Okay. All right.
to
Well,
what I
sounds
used to
good.
drink in college. So,
So, how many we got everybody has to answer this, of course. How many body shots have you taken slash
mm,
gotten? Is that a way to
mm.
look at it? Gotten.
So is it gotten if they've drank off of you?
Yeah, right.
Mm.
I don't know if that's the proper way to say it, but
I want to say somewhere in the like six-ish range.
wow, that you've been the vessel,
That
or
I've
that
been the
you've
vessel
taken.
for.
Which one is 6?
I was comboing both.
Oh, gotcha.
Mm.
Okay. All right, combined. All right, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I would say like 5 of those 6 have probably been at like bachelorette parties.
Mhm. Yep.
You do like the bachelorette like scavenger hunt or like things you gotta do, like things you gotta complete throughout the night, whatever kind of cards you get or whatever. So yeah. I'm gonna say
Well,
5 of the 6 are those.
if I was at a
Ooh.
bachelorette party and that was part of the thing, I'd be sure to get that done first before everybody is like running around getting all dingy and sweaty and stuff. Like, get that out
Nice.
of the way. Yeah.
Well, and
Nice. No,
before
that's
you're
a
all
strategy.
sticky with
Yeah.
all of the other body shots and the
Yeah.
flavors are
Yeah.
mixing, like, you want it
You wanna be the
pure.
first. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, yeah, there's like a fine line, I think, where are you doing it just within like the bachelorette group, like,
Mhm.
or are you like out at a bar and you got to find some person?
Ugh. Yeah.
Because I would want to be super drunk if I had to find a rando, because because then I could like do it and not think too hard about it. If I was sober and had to think about where someone else's body might have been, then I don't know.
That's also true.
But I would trust, like, my fellow bachelorette partiers, and I could probably do that sober.
Okay. Okay. Yes. How
There's my
about you,
logic.
Emily? Yeah.
Mm. I have only ever been the I guess the vessel in that, I've never
Mhm.
taken a shot off of anybody else, but maybe, like, 2 or 3
Oh,
times been the shot.
okay.
Sure.
Uh,
Nice. Uh, you gotta flip it around, you know? Goals for
yeah,
Someday.
tonight, you know?
yeah,
Yep.
night is young. For Shane.
Yep. Yep. I
Everybody
I think
grab your partner.
Mhm.
I can't remember. I feel like I've been the vessel for a body shot, but I can't remember. I probably wasn't in my
Mm.
best state of mind when it happened, but,
I
um,
I feel like I've been there for that.
yeah, I feel like it, yeah.
I feel like this is a truth.
Yeah. And I know I've taken 2,
Mhm.
at least 2,
Sure.
so well, it's not a common thing at bachelor parties, so
Yeah.
Hmm.
maybe
I
that needs
buy
to
that.
change, you know? I don't know, but,
You guys are just less trusting of each other.
more hair, you know?
Mm.
I think
True, true,
that's
that's a
what makes it
barrier.
worse, yeah.
No, that's a barrier for sure.
Literally, and mentally, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Emily, what do you have for a beverage? I saw you had something to drink.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I have lemon sparkly water. Um,
Nice.
I thought about having a beverage, and I was really excited because I've been treating myself occasionally to a cocktail,
Mhm.
but heartburn has been a whole thing, so
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
had to hold off on it
Girl,
tonight. So the
feel that.
sparklies.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. I can see that being bad. I was just talking to my sister kind of about that because she gets really bad heartburn
Mm,
regardless. So she's like, "Oh
That
my god, how
sucks.
bad would it be?" So, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I had that as well, and I am very sorry. I am thankful to report that at least for me, it went away.
It
So, there's
I
a
had
light.
never had any, like, prior to
Same,
pregnancy, and so it was,
same.
like, the first time I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this horrible feeling?"
I
And
know,
I'm
I
and I'm a
know.
doctor, like, I talk to people about this all the time, so it was probably good for me to
yeah.
experience.
Yeah, now you'll really know
Yeah,
and have
yeah.
the empathy, yeah. No, Chris just laughed at me because he has heartburn, so when I was like, "What is this feeling?" And I sounded like
Mm.
some sort of Disney character that was, like, trying to
Mhm.
break into song. "What is the feeling?"
Yeah, yeah.
And he was just like like
Usually that's a feeling of, like, love. I mean, I guess a warming sensation,
Uh-huh.
I
that is a
This was
know.
Disney
is
movie, yeah.
fluttering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I could write a whole song about it, and it would be just so, like, unexpected because the twist is it's not love, it's heartburn.
I like it. I'd like
Oh,
to hear that. It's our new theme
someday.
song, yeah,
Mhm.
mhm.
Someday.
Um, yeah. I understand. It's always those new things or whatever. I don't get heartburn much, but
Mhm.
the first time it's like, yeah, what the hell is going on? So,
Mhm.
well, I am drinking the drink I thought Andrea was drinking. Whiskey ginger. I thought for sure we come on here,
John's
be
giving me
drink
such hard
buddies.
eyes through the screen.
So, no, do
Disappointed.
you do ginger ale or ginger beer?
This
Ginger
is
ale.
ginger ale. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Otherwise, it's a mule all of a sudden, an Irish
Mhm.
mule.
Mhm.
So I thought about that too. I just was trying to match Andrea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What a waste. What a
What a
waste.
waste.
All right. Well, let's talk about what we've been up to these
Mhm.
past week or past weeks, a little bit entertainment wise. We'll start with our guest Emily. What's been going on?
So, the only thing really that I have gotten into in the last week, because 'cause it's been really busy, was that I got to go see the new Batman movie, but I
Yay.
I don't wanna do any spoilers or anything, so I did really enjoy it.
Okay.
Mhm.
How does it rank in
So
the pantheon of Batman? I mean,
great
is it
question.
at least is it in the upper echelon or the
I
more
would put it
bottom
in the
half?
upper echelon. I really liked, Robert Pattinson as Batman, and so I thought he brought a whole more, like, emo, moody, kinda different vibe to Batman that I really liked.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my question because we've talked about this before and we have very
Mhm.
specific thoughts on who makes
Mm.
a good Batman and who makes a good Bruce Wayne. Does Robert
Mhm.
Pattinson do better as Batman or Bruce Wayne?
I think
Or
he
is
does
equal?
fantastic at both, and what I was really surprised by was when
Okay.
all you see is his jaw, like, he's just got a gorgeous jaw. It's just
Mm.
beautiful.
Okay.
That should be part of the casting.
It
I
should
said this when
be,
they did George
like,
Clooney,
just
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
what other guy?
Mhm.
People had
Affleck.
very, very, very yeah, I was gonna say people had very strong thoughts when Affleck was cast
Mm.
because he's got the butt chin and
Yep.
like you're only
No,
staring when he's Batman, you're only staring at the lower half of his face. So that
Yeah,
has to be a thing.
yeah.
some people
I
like
wouldn't
that,
have I
but
wouldn't have thought that looking just at Rob like, at his face as a whole, and then when I saw him in the mask, I was like, "Oh, yeah, he's got a" like, they might have cast him just for that. It's perfect
Okay.
jawline.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
He's got a really flat face, which is always the weirdest
Yeah.
thing. Like, you don't see many pictures of him from the side,
Mhm.
because if you do, it's like I always joked he's hitting the face with a shovel really hard because he's just, like, squashed. But
Yeah.
that's kinda perfect for the cape and cowl too. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Mhm.
That's all filled in and whatever, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Interesting.
R-Pads. Awesome. I'm I'm pumped. I'm hopefully seeing
Yes.
it. I'm hoping to go if the weather's okay tomorrow afternoon. So,
Okay.
but we'll
Yep.
see.
Yep. I'm
Yeah.
hoping to go this week as well because obviously like this is huge. I definitely got to go see it. I'm super excited.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
just curious. Like I said, we have very distinct thoughts about who makes a good Batman and who makes a good Bruce
Mhm.
Wayne because I think there
Mhm.
are actors who definitely do better at one over the other.
Yes,
Well,
for
I'll
sure.
be curious to hear what you guys think because I would put it up at the top end of my Batman rankings, both for the movie
Like
and for
top
the
top.
actor. I don't know if I would put it top, but it would definitely be up there.
Okay. 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 That's fair. I was just curious if it was gonna like vault all the way to number one.
It might, but the thing my hold up is that my very favorite Batman is the, like, Adam West classic campy
Mm.
Love that.
70s, and
Oh,
I
that's
love
so
it, and
great.
it's so cheesy and campy and the pows and, like, so that's my favorite, even though, like,
Okay.
maybe not the most cinematically or, character rich or
Favorite doesn't always have to do with that though, you know what I mean? Favorite is sometimes like your feeling, just like
Yeah.
the enjoyment and just like the settling in of like, "Oh, I just love this." Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be perfect for there to be love.
Have you ever
Mhm.
seen my high school renditions of Batman? It's heavily
No.
based on Adam
Yes.
West. Yeah,
Yeah.
Andrea has, okay. I'll have to show you sometime, yeah.
Yeah, I need to see this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I am,
We need to have like a
Remuro.
cinematic screening night where John just like screens for us all of his classic high school oeuvre of work.
Mm,
That'd be
my
amazing.
oeuvre. Yeah.
John's like, "I'm
It's just
not
gonna
convinced."
be, John's oeuvre night, yeah. That's just gonna
Yes.
mhm.
Yes.
I don't know about this. Well, going on to a
I
comment in
do.
the chat, I am Ramuro says, "If you wanna kill Batman, just snipe him in his jaw." That
Mm,
is true.
Hmm.
That is
I
very
always
true.
wonder that. No one ever aims for his face.
mhm.
And it's a bad spot. It's like a button. When you
Huh.
see watch fighters, often people hit in the jaw and they drop.
Mhm.
So you keep your
Yep.
keep your chin down.
Mm.
So you know, it's a
It is like a fatal
bad
flaw.
design. Mhm.
Mhm.
Batman's jaw, the fatal flaw. Oh my god.
Well,
I'm just making up more songs tonight.
there's definitely, I mean, a lot of people don't consider that when these things were first started, there's a lot less thought into it, like in the
Yeah.
way we expect them to be thought about now. With Batman or Spider-Man, you look at Stanley or whatever. Stanley, genius, but obviously he was like, well, Spider guy, okay, and it doesn't have to be so precise. Oh, the Fantastic Four, of course, gamma rays, just all
Mhm.
these things you can just make up for explaining um, why a superhero is what they are, why they do, and it expands and grows over time, and we
Mhm.
expect more answers over time.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe Batman should have fully masked up a long time ago or something.
Right?
But
Yeah.
Well, he does. If we're gonna get into like cartoon TV Batman, Batman Beyond, he does. It's full on.
yes, hmm
Mm.
So I mean, there's an evolution right there.
Mhm.
Just saying.
that's true. Yeah,
So Bruce
Alan,
Wayne clearly like thought about it and was like, yeah, probably should have him go like full bore, full
Mhm.
on.
Alan posting my personal YouTube in the chat here.
Yeah.
No, don't click on it. Don't look. Well, I'm
Yes,
excited.
that will stop me.
Yeah. um, Andrea, how about you?
Yeah, it's been kind of an eclectic week for me. Um, there it is. Alan just posted the shot of Batman Beyond. Oh, I love that costume. That's possibly one of my absolute favorites. I love the whole premise of that.
Hmm
Um, yeah, so back to my eclectic week. I've watched a bunch of different stuff at various times. I finished out Peacemaker
Mhm.
and definitely have to say I really grew to love the series. Um, I think its big fault is a very slow start to the series in terms of like why you should care about it. Like the action isn't slow to start and like the
Mhm.
premise isn't slow to start, but the why do I care and the real hook setting and emotional tie for the audience comes at least halfway through the season, which is pretty late if you ask me. So, if people can't get through like those first couple, I do not blame them. But if you can, it does get really good. And the payoff, I think, is worth it. So,
Well, Emily,
good
you've been
series.
watching Peacemaker as well.
Yeah, so I was gonna say I felt the same way. Like it did take a while, but then I felt like the th- you if you stick with it, then the character development gets so much more
Hmm.
interesting, and the themes come through, and you see all of
Yep.
this like trauma and all of
Hmm.
all of these more nuanced character things that I think they maybe took a few too many episodes to hammer home like
Hmm.
the beginning, of the character before letting you see them evolve.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I really
I,
enjoyed the Peacemaker series.
So
yeah,
did you
I
finish it up
almost,
yet now, Andrea?
I did.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I almost think, I'm pretty sure James Gunn directed, like, the first few and then came back to direct the last one or write the last one. I can't remember if it was r
Okay.
he wrote them or directed them, but I think they maybe should have, like, limited him in the beginning because I think that was, like, some influence there, like, he was just, like, too still into his, like, you know, like, let's do, like, a bunch of shock and awe and, like, just
Mhm,
crazy off the wall stuff, and it was like, "Yeah, okay, we got that." Like, we need the characters now, and it
Mhm.
just carried on, like, one episode too many, so
So before we move from the comic book topic, I want to use the opportunity
Sure.
to address
Oh, yeah.
our viewer's question here. He asks, I am a Muro asks, who'd want to go if both universes collide, Marvel versus DC? Who do you think would win? Yeah, Marvel versus DC, with what you're familiar with, comic book wise. Use movies for reference if you want. What universe is? I assume we're talking here in like some sort of battle
Battle.
royale, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they haven't had in the at least in the more modern or, like, the cinematic DC universe, any of the, like, multiverse, world-ending sorts of, like
They're
Mm,
not proven yet.
Yes, so I feel like in that way, Marvel would win because they've, like, destroyed the universe and
Mhm.
rebuilt it, so
Yeah, so if we're talking cinematic universes, right, that's a fair
mhm,
point, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Justice League had Steppenwolf and, like, the whole, like, alien invasion there, but
Mhm,
it just that's only one. It feels like the Avengers in particular have had
mhm,
so many, you know, world-ending crises, um, and I mean, yeah, like, they did go through the end of the world and, like, figured out a way to pull it back around, so yeah. Yeah, I would say Marvel is the more, battle-tested universe right now.
yeah, when I like, if I bring it
They
to the comic
gel
books.
together better as a team.
Mhm, yeah, yeah. They've won the battle of the box office. They've won
Yeah.
that battle.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's too tough to say because they always offer an analogous option on the other side. They
Mhm.
always copy each other's hero and
Mhm.
villains and stuff like that. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you have Doctor Strange in Marvel, but then you have Doctor Fate in DC.
Mhm.
Okay, sure, you have Superman in DC, but you have like Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe.
Mhm.
Um, you like, there's always they always have a, a pairing in a
Yeah.
way. You know, Batman in DC, Moon Knight in Marvel. Like, just
Right.
so
Or
that would be my
slash kind of Tony Stark.
mhm,
yeah. Yep. Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I think that
mm,
I think maybe DC, because they have some really weird, far out characters. Um, but Marvel
I
has their share of them too. So
I feel like so what I feel like would be very different answering this question as like a comic book reader versus like a strictly like TV or movie viewer because the comics you're introduced to so many more characters. Right now, Marvel has a whole roster of characters that you've been introduced to via their television and movie, mediums, whereas like DC is only starting to ramp up. So right now it feels like Marvel has so many different characters. You'd be like, "Oh my god, there's like sheer numbers of, and different groups that I could name that could come to this battle." And if you'd only ever seen like DC
mm,
TV or movies, you'd be like, "Well, there's not as many of them." Like, do
yeah.
you know what I'm kind of driving at
mhm,
here? Like, Marvel's had so much more time to like introduce you to like a whole breadth of characters, whereas like
mhm,
DC, I feel like is still getting its legs
It definitely
in
varies if you're
it.
talking about the cinematic renditions or just like what's in existence in these written
Right,
works. You know.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to, I guess, drive home at. Because like
Mhm.
obviously DC is coming out with a whole new roster this year. We're going to be introduced to so many more different characters, but they haven't had that. So, yeah, if you'd just seen, like, the movies, you'd think Marvel would win.
Mhm.
mhm,
Well, and I think too, what I am Remuno is kind of bringing up here is the idea that you have to incorporate like the other, like you talk Marvel, we're talking multiverses, way out in
Mhm.
space. DC has that too, like Superman's home planet, all these
Right?
different, so not just your heroes here on Earth. Like if we're talking
Mhm.
what's in existence in the universe, there's some
Mhm.
pretty filled out stuff in
Mhm.
each. So it's yeah, it would a challenge for you, I am Ramiro. Bring us a spreadsheet of like head to head
Oh
battles and
god,
how
that
it's
would
all
be
gonna come down.
fascinating.
It would be a lifetime of work. All right. So yeah, sorry for the sidetrack there. What
No.
else is going on in your week?
Um, yeah, speaking of kind of strange and fantastic heroes, I got back into gargoyles. I was sadly looking after my babes and who's been a little bit sick this week. So we were
Oh,
looking for some TV to watch. And obviously I wasn't really like into showing her, Peacemaker, for instance. So I was like, what's a little more toned down, but still something I want to watch. So we got back into Gargoyles, which
yeah.
I love. Can't say enough good things about. Um, Watched that, then I kind of bopped on over to Amazon, to check out a few new episodes of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel season 4, which is really picking up steam and getting good again. Um, I watched a little bit of kind of like, you know, check out TV, kind of background noise TV. Netflix has a great series called Explained, and it's just kind of fun little 20-minute episodes that dive into like a different topic. Like we just watched, following the development of the game of chess. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that was a very interesting one for me because of course there were like several references like to famous figures like Bobby Fischer, or obviously now to like Netflix's recent series The Queen's Gambit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
apparently chess has become like the most downloaded game in 2021. So I was like
What?
shocked by that. Yeah, like I don't remember exactly how they phrased it. It was like maybe it was like the most growth in downloads or
Okay, okay.
I don't remember,
They're actually
but it
including
was
auto chess
crazy.
battler games, like,
Yeah.
they're including stuff that's
It was
not really chess.
it was something crazy, like, I mean, they were, like, showing, they introed the episode by being like, movies, video games, audiobooks, like, they were, like, describing all these different kinds of media, and they were like, "Guess what actually was the most popular thing in 2021?" And it was, like, chess. Um, so I don't remember exactly how they phrased it, but it just shocked the hell out of me, so
Yeah, let me
that was a
see your
great opening.
data. Let me see this study here.
I mean, it pulled me in to be like, "What?"
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so I've been watching Explained. I do love that show. It's just kind of like a fun little check-in to learn about a different topic.
Yeah.
Of course, watched Raised by Wolves, the next couple of episodes. And then I finished the book I'd started last week, Malibu Rising by
Oh,
Taylor Jenkins Reid. Excellent book. Not quite as good, I think, as her novel that was like loosely based on I did it again in my brain. I tried to think of Fleetwood Mac and I thought of Nickelback. Jesus.
I
I do
mean,
this every time. I
they
freeze.
rhyme. Yeah.
Uh, um, but still a solid entry in her roster. So I would recommend. It's a very good beach read.
So, is Nickelback as terrible as everyone says? I mean, I
Oh
know it's the
God,
butt of the
John, you're
joke
just like
for
coming out with the hard hits tonight.
well, yeah, right?
Man,
Okay,
who
sure.
wins Marvel versus DC? Is
Well,
Nickelback
that's
good or
I Am
bad? Like,
Romero's
ugh.
fault. That's that um,
John, man, I think I need another drink for this. Um, I I personally do not think they're as bad as everybody says they are. I mean, first of all, like they would be like poor. Nobody would have heard of them. Like
yeah, their
people
tickets
have to
go
be
for
buying their
crazy amounts of money.
Yeah, the
Yes.
fact that we
people have
all
to be
know
buying their
them means they're
albums.
not that bad.
Right? I
Mhm.
mean, it's
Yeah.
like a joke, and I don't think they're like, some brilliant genius, you know, I don't know, like upper echelon of music, but I mean, they're fine. They're fine. They've got some catchy good ones. Not gonna
I
lie, they were very appropriately emo for like the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. And they had that hero song.
Was that them? That was them?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
alright.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, it was very appropriate. I mean, they do some good stuff, but
Okay.
yeah, are
So I'm
they
not alone. I'm not alone in this. I was like, it's fun. It's fun. We all get to dogpile in this one group. Okay, I get it.
right?
This cultural thing, but I think it's a little unfair.
Yeah, I mean, it was like funny for a while for everybody to be like, "Oh, Nickelback's terrible," but like they're fine, they're
I
good.
just saw a meme that was like a guy from Nickelback going to the jukebox and everybody's there like, stop him. Don't let him pick a. Yeah. So.
Oh
Anyways, this is
man,
the thing that's going to be clipped. It's going to catch fire on the internet because, like, oh my god, look at these blasphemers
I noticed I'm the only
going
one who gave
against the culture
opinions,
here.
so jump in, y'all.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. So, um, well, This week I've been into a lot of anime again.
Mhm.
Um, into Sabikui Bisco, and I watched episode 4 and 5 of that. I'm still not obsessed with that yet. It's
Okay.
just okay. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep going on or not. It's like just not invested enough of the characters,
Sure.
maybe. My Dress Up Darling episodes 5 and 6, so we're caught up on the latest of the English ones that we have available.
Mhm.
That's still good. The character growth is happening at a nice pace and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that's been enjoyable. Um, we got a new follow or a new chat here. Oh yeah, follow. Thank you for the follow. Francescott. I like that. It's a nice name. So um and then we just started and kind of powered through a number of episodes of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. Have you seen this at all, Andrea?
No. No, what is this? Tell me more.
Yeah, so Ashley had seen comparisons to My Dress Up Darling, like who's the better
Mhm.
waifu in which show and some of that, and heard it was good. So we started it, got through the first 5 episodes, and it's a lot of fun. After the
Okay.
first episode, I thought, I don't know, this is going to be too obnoxious, and I can't watch 2 shows in a row with like horribly dorky dudes as the lead.
Mhm.
Um, but in episode 2, it changes. It's like
Okay.
enough different, and I think it's pretty cute and a lot of fun. So, highly
I'm
recommend
just
both those
I'm
shows.
just gonna have to clarify the title here. Don't toy with me or don't you with me.
Oh, I don't toy with me. Yeah, I mistyped it in the thing. It's
I
don't
was
toy
like,
with me.
that's a very like interesting title. Don't you with me.
Yeah, yeah. No, don't toy with me.
All
Yeah,
right. All right.
yep. It's a lot
All
of
right. That'll
fun.
help when I go try to find it.
Hmm. Let's see. And then I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West as well, and taking lots of
Shocker.
screenshots and stuff of that. Yep.
Also a shocker.
So, mhm. Well, I got to keep the Twitter feed going, right? I got to keep posting a
Yep.
few pictures in the Twitter feed. So, that's been the big stuff this week. No Batman for me,
That's pretty
sadly.
good stuff.
Yeah. See. Chat is blowing up, so I'm not sure what's happening here.
We've got quite the
Both
international audience.
Yeah, both
Ooh.
talking a little bit about some anime. That's great. I did this morning. I guess
I was
should
gonna
say
say
that, I
quick plug,
guess.
quick plug.
Yeah, I did this morning a show talking about I have kind of separate thing to talk about just anime more specifically. And that's kind of random, but the video's on YouTube now, and we talked
Mhm.
about Demon Slayer a lot on there in a spoilery fashion of season 2.
Mhm.
Talked a little bit about Dragon Ball as well, because we had to, and my guest on there is a big Dragon Ball fan,
Mhm.
so for sure to check that out. All right, news. We don't have a
Mhm.
lot, but being we're talking about anime, we might as well go into the other story first here. Um,
Absolutely.
it's known now. It's been a few days, but Funimation is being absorbed by Crunchyroll.
Mhm.
Um, and so we kind of expected this or something like this to happen when Sony bought. They had already owned Funimation, and then they bought Crunchyroll as well.
Mhm.
And so, if we look back on this podcast, we've had our conjecture of what we thought they would do. Is this what you thought they would do, Andrea?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I
keep the
mean,
Crunchyroll
honestly,
brand.
yeah. It just makes sense to me, truly. I mean, people generally, I think, with these sort of things, like not having to have multiple platforms. Like they enjoy the ease of like one big home for everything. And I think Crunchyroll was the way to go instead of Funimation.
Emily, you're very silent, very quiet on this. Are
Yeah.
you? We got to get you into anime.
Yeah, apparently. I was just thinking about, like, immediately I went to, "Ooh, Crunchyroll. That sounds really good." Like,
Mhm.
I don't know what a Crunchyroll is,
That's
but I wanna eat
that's
it.
some That's some
Yeah.
classic pregnancy brain right there,
Yeah,
like,
I went right to like, "Oh, is this like a
food. Yeah,
sushi? Ooh,
yeah.
It
ooh,
definitely is like a
mhm,
sushi roll. Yep.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm there with you. That sounds great. And Funimation, that sounds entertaining as well. But I think
mhm,
that the surprising thing to me with it, it seems like they may be just dissolving the Funimation brand. I don't know if that's confirmed yet. It just seems like that's
Mhm.
kind of going away. Where I figured it would still
Sure.
be more like Crunchyroll, the streaming service, and you would still have Funimation that would be like buying the rights to shows and stuff. And maybe it really is more of a merger than I thought.
Mhm.
And it's just all going to be under the Crunchyroll name now. I don't know. But I
Yeah,
talked about this.
it doesn't
This
really say or confirm that Funimation will be dissolving.
just wasn't the wording like
Mhm.
going
Oh,
away
it'll
from the
only add
Funimation branding.
yeah, Funimation will only add new episodes of continuing series. No, that's only on the platform, though.
Okay.
Interesting, yeah. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how that's gonna work, I guess, going forward if they're still gonna have their own, kinda studio underneath Crunchyroll.
hmm I mean, I guess it
Unclear.
seems redundant maybe at this point. So they'll just get rid of it.
Yeah, who knows?
All right. Well, so we got Francesca and I am Remuro in the chat. Emily here is not an
Mhm,
anime. This is a mission for you to suggest. We'll bring up whatever you can take your time and think about it. Each give us one show that if Emily is not into anime, what should she start with? That's it's a
mm,
good project here. Um, I did a talk on my on the um, anime show a little bit too about people's concern of again we have this in the video game space and now
mhm,
we have it in this space as well, the consolidation. We
right,
have, one of the biggest competitors to Crunchyroll was Funimation. They were the
mhm,
two like primary anime streaming services. Now they're under the same company and melding into one thing. um I think it's a concern, but at the same time, I understand those companies needing to be able to compete with the likes of Netflix and
mhm.
Hulu and Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to say that they couldn't, split in the future or, Crunchyroll get so big that like something new branches off. Like anime would get big enough for something to like branch off again. But you're right, right now isn't the moment. Like it isn't the moment for them to be competing against Netflix and Hulu and, everybody else who's out there. Um
so I don't know enough about this, like, is anime something special in that it really is all produced through its own platforms and you couldn't produce the shows and then sell them to these other
Oh, it definitely
Oh,
is sold that way.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
So
okay.
it's usually the way it works generally is that you have studios in Japan that will make shows and then they need to be brought to the West and some licensed in the West. And so you'll
Mhm.
have Netflix or Crunchyroll or Funimation,
Or
they'll
Hulu,
be
yeah.
the one to license it in the West. And so they'll bring it
Mhm.
over and they'll get the English voice acting potentially and all that stuff and then put it on whatever streaming service. And so it used to be there was a lot of companies, they would bring it and then, they put it out on DVD. And then for a while it would be, they would bring it over and then they would have that go to someone's streaming service. And
Mhm.
now like those companies would just kind of like become, Funimation did this and they just became the streaming service too. So
Mm.
Funimation will buy the rights to localize and distribute in America, and and there
So
are
they're not
cases where
actually producing the
making it.
content then, they're
Right.
okay,
Now
got it.
they are starting to do that more.
Mhm.
So in like Netflix in particular, you'll have something that Netflix funded to be made in Japan.
Mm,
So they will go to whatever studio, maybe it's Mappa or whoever Bones or whatever. They'll go to them and pay them, write them, give them the bag to
Mhm.
make a show exclusively for their service. So
interesting.
as it gets more and more popular in the West, I suspect that will continue to be more prevalent.
Mhm.
But yeah. Let's see. Let's check in what our followers here are suggesting. Um, Saint Seiya could be a great one. Um, and also Arcane. But yeah, I'm gonna throw down the hammer on that one. Say it's not anime, so that one does not count.
It
He
isn't, but it's
questioned it.
so good. It's so good.
So,
Watch it if you
I'm not
haven't.
saying you can't watch it. I'm just,
Yeah, no, no,
it's
I get it, I get it. I get
what
it.
is
yeah.
it that makes it not anime then? Because that sounds very specific then. Criteria.
Okay.
It
All right. So
is.
I feel that probably in the next decade or two, this is going to start changing quite a bit. Um, oh, I remember I was coming up with something here. Okay, so this is what I am Imuro saying. It's always a
Mhm,
misconception that anime is just animation, but Japanese anime is or our anime shows is from Japanese or manga. Okay, yeah, I think he's on the same page as I am here. So to me, is cartoons from Japan. We
mhm,
started calling them Japanimation, as an
mhm,
animation from Japan,
Mhm.
and we shortened that eventually to anime. And so to be anime in my book, it has to have come from a Japanese studio.
So anything that would be animated and coming from a Japanese studio would be anime.
mhm.
That would be what I would consider, yes,
Okay.
because anime is short for Japanimation, which is short for Japanese animation. And so, I think it's one of those things. It's a term though that's just going to kind of keep getting watered down over the years as it gets more
Yeah.
popular. More people get their
Mhm.
hands on it. Like people are calling Castlevania Netflix animation or anime, and it's not. It's funded by Netflix, made by Koreans.
It's an
It's not
animated series.
right, right. But, like the line starts getting blurred. What does it matter if like if the studio is housed in Japan, but then the director is Korean and most of the people are Korean or Vietnamese?
Mhm.
Like, so it's gonna get whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all
I
right.
would I would agree though, watch Arcane. It's so good.
Okay. All right. One more news story before we get to Raised by Wolves, and it's not a happy one.
No, it's not. I mean, it is kind of like cool, but it's not happy. Unfortunately, Alan Ladd Jr. uh has passed away, and he was the studio executive and producer who greenlit the very first Star Wars movie. So we have Alan Ladd Jr. in part to thank for the beginning of such a rich and like well built and well produced universe that people know and love. He helped make that happen.
Yeah, I didn't recognize the name at first, until I looked at his picture and stuff. I was like, "Oh yes, I've seen this guy a lot. Watch a lot
Right.
of behind the scenes, like how Star Wars came to be, all that. Intimately
Hmm.
involved in the beginning of that process. So
Hmm.
probably
Yeah.
pretty fair to say we wouldn't have Star Wars and wouldn't have something for me to complain about on a weekly basis if it wasn't for him. You know,
We complain
so
because we care.
that's right.
But
So
yeah,
yeah, that's too bad.
definitely a name that like kind of caught at the back of my mind. And like you said, when I saw his picture, I was like, ah, this guy, like, the definitely like the guy who's been in a million like black and white shot of like behind the scenes Star Wars with George Lucas, and definitely knew him kind of
Right,
tangentially, but didn't know kind of the critical role he played in helping and aiding and soliciting George Lucas to like write this. So
right.
yeah, a very integral part of the beginning of the Star Wars cinematic universe.
Yep.
And I didn't realize until I was reading through because I honestly had never heard of him and agree. Like I looked at the
Mhm.
pictures, like, oh yeah, that guy looks kind of familiar. But
Right?
I hadn't really heard of him. And I was looking through like his cinematography list, the right word? Like when like
Sure, yeah.
his
Mhm.
list
It's
is like huge movies that he has
Mhm.
been involved in. everything from Braveheart to Alien and Star Wars.
Mhm.
Like he had his like he was in a lot of things, and so it was
Right.
really interesting reading about him. And
Right.
yeah,
Excellent career.
mhm,
You can say you've been a part of movies like that. Cheers.
yeah,
Right. Yep. And that's kind of the way you want to be involved, right? You want to have that anonymity a little bit, but you
Mhm.
still can feel, you know, like you're a big
Like you
part
made
of
it
it.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
you're a big part of it, but you don't have to wear a baseball cap and sunglasses everywhere you
Yeah.
go.
Right. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. So Raised by Wolves,
Mhm.
season two. So appreciate everybody in the chat, tuning in and everything. We are gonna get spoilery now about Raised by Wolves season two. We're all the way
Mhm.
caught up. So we're gonna be talking about most specifically episodes 5 and 6. Only 2 episodes left now after these.
Mhm.
But yeah, we where we want to start. I think this show's been crazy. So first we should talk, Emily. What's been your thoughts up to this point of Raised by
Mm.
Wolves season two? Like, how did
Hmm.
season one kind of end for you? How'd you feel about that? How'd you feel about the opening of this season? How's it been paced and all that stuff?
I felt like they didn't answer any of the questions that I had left over from season 1, and I feel like season 2 is almost like a whole different story starting with, like and maybe I just was not paying attention enough to be like, when did the atheists get here, and how did they get here? And
Mm,
what why were there multiple ships? And I felt like there were a lot of things that happened in the second season that were really new plot lines and a lot of new characters and storylines, but didn't really resolve a lot of the questions that I had from the first season. um, but I enjoyed that it went to new places. And
okay. Yep. They introduced like the atheist like right at the end of
yeah,
season one, but it was confusing. It was like you say,
Mhm.
where did these guys come from?
yeah,
Because we talked about that previously, how the season one ended with such fast paced, what is happening kind of things
mhm,
thrown at you, that I feel the show would have really benefited from that not being how they ended season one,
mhm,
maybe how they started season 2, because it was just, I get they're trying to leave you on a cliffhanger and stuff like
mhm,
that, but it was too
But
much.
there's
What is happening here?
yeah,
mhm,
there's a cliffhanger and then there's you sitting at like staring at the screen going, "What the fuck?" Like, where did all
Yeah.
this come from?
mhm. I
Mhm.
had to go back after the first couple of episodes and be like, "Wait, why did they think that the baby was evil again? Like, I don't even remember what happened that made them think that." And there was a lot like, it's so much happened in that last, episode or 2 episodes. Actually, yeah, I had to go back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. So, the beginning now of season 2, did it feel pretty clarified to you? Do you like how it branched in this new direction so quickly, and we had newest, we're on the other side of the planet, basically.
Yeah, I think so. 'Cause I felt like also they kinda maybe tapped the story that could have happened on like, the prequel almost of, the children in the desert and the robots by themselves and the kind of stark setting of that. So it was nice, I thought, to have a very visual change and then to have these whole other themes that could be brought in, and more history and context for the Mithraic and the atheist conflict and a lot of like that more of the human side of it contrast with what the robot side of it had been doing in that
Mhm.
first
Sure.
season.
Sure.
S Something I was thinking about when I was watching these last couple episodes that I should have been asking before or whatever, and maybe it's been answered in something throwaway or whatever, but I want to know when the Smithric religion started, and
Mm.
what's it based off of, if anything? Why did that form? Because I feel like with the way humanity is now, it seems unlikely that we'll develop a new large religion,
Mhm.
um, to be followed by millions across the globe at this stage.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, with the expanse of time, who knows what happens? But just with the way things are, seem to be traditionally born into existence, it just feels less likely. So, where'd this come from?
So, did you guys read at all about this? That this is actually based on a real religion?
Mm, I
Mhm.
had no idea. No.
It's so interesting. So it's a combination of, Mithras and Sol, and Mithras was guess Iranian, and then Sol was the Roman god, and they got kinda meshed together in, like, the 1st and 2nd century, and it was this Roman religious, cult, like, along the same times that, like, Christianity was developing kind of its following, and there were still all these remnants of various deities happening in Rome, and so it became kind of its own religion, and as I got really into reading about this,
Yeah.
and there are some philosophers that believe actually that it could have been a rival to Christianity, and it kind of had a similar around the same time that Christianity was really revving up, the Mithraism was also kind of revving up, and the Christians ended up persecuting the, followers of Mithras and Sol and kind of destroying them. But I think there are some, historians who think that it could have been the dominant religion, if, things had gone a little bit differently throughout history.
Interesting.
Okay. So maybe we're playing with a kind of a alternate
Mhm.
what if timeline sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't see that resurfacing, but you
Mhm.
know, that's kind of neat. I wonder, yeah, I wonder if that in the history the of this world of the planet, if that's how it went,
Yeah.
roles were reversed. And so they were two separate things, each with their own god, but they each were like a monotheistic kind of thing in a time when it was
It would have
popular
come
to have.
from polytheistic sorts of religions where you might have identified one god that you were going to you know, follow, but you are
Mhm.
selecting that god from all of the many gods that you
The
could
pantheon.
worship. Yeah, from
Mhm.
the pantheon of whatever, culture you came from. And so the followers of this would have had, like, temples and rituals specifically around this god.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
interestingly, a lot of the temples are underground. So as I was reading about it, I was
Mm.
wondering
Mhm.
how intentional some of the themes of this show are going
Mhm.
with that original religious context, because there was, a lot of it being underground.
Mhm.
There was some, the god, and I can't remember now which one, whether it was Sol or Mithras, their birthday was December 25th, which is what ended up like when the Christians
Mm.
took
Mhm.
that to become Jesus's birthday, and then
Yep.
it made me think, "Oh, I wonder how intentional it was that there are all these themes of, like, motherhood and kind of virgin birth, and also this maybe coincidental god that's birthday became Christmas." Like, there's some
Yeah.
really interesting ties. I don't know how intentional it was.
Entirely intentional.
Yeah.
Think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think that anyways, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, it's cool. Very good background. Yeah, no, it's I had no idea. So that's lots of fun. Um, but it's kind of like, so then we get to see, so in the real life religion, they were persecuted by whatever so what now we see in this world, they sort of did the persecuting. So they had the chance to be in charge,
Mhm.
it seems. And but we're getting a lot of role reversals here, um, pretty quick. So episode 5, if we get into the episode specifically, um, let's see. Because we left off with the big, oh my god, mother shut down the trust.
Mm.
So that was pretty
We left
nuts. I
we left with a couple of pretty big things.
what were the other stuff?
I mean, mother shutting down the
Paul.
trust, mother
Yeah.
taking back her eyes, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
Paul is gonna live or die. I mean, those are
Yes.
those are three
Mhm.
pretty big moments, kind of turning points here, I think. Not I
Mhm.
mean, obviously many of them revolved around Mother, but for all of the characters and all of the like implications these things were gonna have.
Yep.
And apparently Marcus is no longer charismatic and cult-like without Mother's eyes.
Yeah.
That's
I
really
s
big for him.
Yeah!
As we see in like the first 5 minutes of the fifth episode, like everybody's like, "Oh, you're different." Like,
Yeah!
I don't
What were the
feel it."
eyes doing?
I
Mhm.
mean, they
Yeah.
were clearly doing something,
Mhm.
um, that was like
Well,
physical,
yeah,
tangible. You know what
a
I mean?
glow.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah. But I mean, like people were saying, like when they touched him, there was like a humming or like like they could feel the radiation, which, I mean, immediately makes me think of like that's like actual radiation.
Mhm.
Um, but you know what I mean? Like there was
Yeah.
clearly something happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I thought it was kind of interesting because, I took note of how crazy it is that everybody's just turn on him so quickly.
Hmm.
But then
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought, well, it's like that's how our emotions can betray us. So they're basing this off of nothing but a feeling. They're
Mhm.
like, we're going to follow him because we literally feel something here, as opposed
Hmm.
to, well, this makes sense, or he proved himself here, or whatever. And obviously, we did have some examples, like seeing him go up against father was impressive. Like, whoa,
Right.
well, how are you able to do that?
Mhm.
Well, and I mean, everybody else, like, it's not only the feeling, it's like the visual signal of like he's no longer got the veins, like something is
Mhm.
visually
Sure.
different, like, that could seem diminishing to their eyes. So it's, like the multiple factors sort of compound each other and make them, quick to turn on him. But it
Yep.
really does happen fast.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I wondered
Um,
also why they didn't take a sign that he did not die from whatever the infection was. They
right.
they didn't seem to care that he,
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
soul saved him or whatever.
Yeah.
That was pre though.
But it was right at the
Mother
same
taking her
time.
Like,
eyes
Yes.
back.
Yes.
yeah.
Because they wouldn't have known,
So
it would be like run out of the
Mhm.
cave, they saw that, then some conflict with mother that they don't
right.
Mhm.
see, and then
But was like that is like last gasp of like Saul's like, "Okay, here's like your last present, you know.
Yeah.
Now I'm withdrawing my favor." I don't however you would put it, I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like is everybody thinking, "Okay, well that's like the final thing he
Mhm.
gets and now like Saul's like bye.
Right.
New prophet somewhere."
Yeah. So quick to dump their profits, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I don't know. It struck me as odd, and we sure saw the deterioration of his new flock fall
Mhm.
quickly. Because, I mean, first we have everybody questioning him, and then he doesn't do himself any favors because he takes the poor girl Molly's tooth.
Yeah. Why'd
I'm
he take
like,
her tooth?
yeah, it's like this was an opportunity to like
Ollie.
bless it and be like, all right. But again, we saw it's like all part of the plan. That's what they have to live up to so much with this show. There are so many things that only work if, you know, A happens before B. And
Mhm.
obviously that's always the way it is. But the way we see them connect to make some of this fall into what seems like Soul's
Right.
design
Mhm.
is pretty incredible.
Mhm.
Um, so I think they have to really, that's something when we have an answer,
Mhm.
other than if it's just is like a higher power and
Mhm.
divine intention, that's a really big question to answer. Like
Mhm.
hard to be satisfying.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so sticking on, I guess, Marcus and stuff for now, and that whole thing, we see the poor little android girl come and take her revenge. I'm surprised no one could land a shot, but man, it was swift.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's just
I knew
tiny. Maybe she's just
Yeah.
hard to hit.
Hmm.
we hadn't seen the last of her. Nobody
No,
I mean, it's like the classic serial killer, you gotta give a double tap. Like,
Yeah.
they're never dead.
a lot more for these
So,
androids. A lot
yeah.
more than.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? It's just especially for an android, like, falling is such, like, an arbitrary thing, like, you didn't, like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like cut its power supply cords, remove body parts so they can't, it's yeah, I just feel like falling and sustaining some damage is just like never like a surefire they're done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
What
knew
did
she
you
was coming back.
What did you think, Emily, in the previous episode where how they choose to quote unquote execute or deal with her? Like,
Yeah, it seemed like a weird thing to me, and I didn't really understand why there was so much like, why Marcus wanted her gone to begin with,
Mhm.
like, they use androids, they're the ones who developed them and have used them, and so I didn't really understand why he would even care.
Mhm.
well, I mean, this particular situation, so he's developed a pretty strong distaste and distrust for androids,
Mhm,
not a creation of Soul. Um, but then more specifically in this case is that she brought Campion and Paul
mhm,
back to their place without telling them. And
Mhm.
because of that, Paul was able to bring the trap to the
mhm.
group
Mhm.
and attempt to kill him and everybody else there and stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
your trust of this thing has again like caused us problems. And look at Paul now. And so it's more also emotional lashing out, even if it's not her directly. It's like, you know,
Yeah, and
my
I felt like
son.
that was
He's the
that
one
it
that's
was more of
there.
a yeah, like, it's a punishment for Paul. If I'm gonna lose my son, you're gonna lose your daughter, kind of a
Mhm.
punishment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a variety of things like what you guys have said. I think especially in the moment it was very like retaliatory, like, your daughter took my son, so now you have to be punished and take your daughter. Um I also agree that like Marcus has a very very healthy distrust of androids, which, obviously has to do with his interactions with Mother. I
Mm,
also think it's um kind of part of a larger two-prong goal of his. One, I mean, it this android daughter detracts his female companion. I cannot remember her name at this moment. It takes away some of her attention from him and like growing the
mm,
flock and like promoting this religion. Like she has emotional ties to another being. And I think Marcus is pretty jealous and selfish in this moment where he's like first growing his flock. He wants like the attention on him. So I think there's some like weird kind of jealousy there.
Hmm.
I
mm,
also think that this is part of what we get to in the 6th episode, where Marcus is kind of recreating this religion. He sees
mm.
himself as the prophet of kind of a new chapter. He talks about, to the guy who's been captured by the collective. Can't remember his
Lucius.
name either.
Mhm.
What was his
Lucius.
name? Lucius? Thank you.
One who
He
shoved
talks
the
to him.
eyes down him to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
Mhm.
he
Mhm.
talks to him about, like, so Lucius is, telling Marcus, you're not actually a follower, you're not a true believer or whatever. And Marcus is like, actually, I am. This is the religion of soul. You just don't recognize it without all of its
Mhm.
like trappings and excess and like it's,
Mhm.
blah blah blah. And I think Marcus sees androids as part of that old guard trappings
Mm.
of the religion. Whereas he thinks in his mind, I'm creating something new and pure just about humans and like our
Mhm.
devotion that doesn't need like android servitors and, all of this different stuff. So I think there's some part of that that's being sown in episode 5 that we get to in episode 6.
That makes sense. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
definitely is kind of rewriting it a little bit, or he doesn't have all the books memorized. He doesn't have all the script memorized, so it kind
But
of
he's a
behooves
but he's a
him to.
prophet.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
right.
he
So
can
it does.
just kinda like
Yeah,
move forward in this new like,
yeah,
you know, I wrote it as like it feels very like Catholic Protestant Reformation.
sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like this new chapter of the same religion.
Mhm. And and they're kind of getting a rash of new believers.
Mhm.
But wouldn't wouldn't you too, or wouldn't it be difficult to resist if you're hearing a voice and you're seeing visions and all this stuff? Like, um, do you blame anyone in this show specifically for believing in soul all of a sudden?
No, I feel like that's a big theme of the season and the last few episodes in particular is that we get almost honestly this more like rational explanation of what's happening. Like there is a signal, there is something that's creating hallucinations and it's I think even the the atheist members of the group are saying like, "Hey, there's something. Like,
Hmm.
can't ignore it. There's something happening here." I
Sure.
like how Sue put it in the Sue or Mary or whatever her puts it that like on Earth it was just stories, but on this planet it's real.
Mm, right. Yeah. That's true, and I didn't really like the talk between her and Paul, where Paul's like, "What's the difference between alien and God?" It's like, well, a lot. I mean, so I kind of get
So
the
much.
like ultimately, if you're asking for something and you're receiving it, like there's such a grand scheming elements to this, such power, it seems. I kind of understand that, but it's still like an alien is a physical, explainable thing that is able to exist in the known universe that isn't omnipresent, even if it might feel like it,
Mhm.
and is not a creator as well, most likely, of like all of existence or whatever.
So, I had a lot of issue with this the treatment around like this sort of like conversion of Sue
Hmm.
into like being a believer of Saul because she was very like the same thing. I sort of bought the what if Saul is like an alien or a group sending out a
Mhm.
signal and it's so distant that on Earth it was just like a distant memory or story. Here it's like an actual thing happening. Great. Like I am very interested in that. Like, this seems to be logical. Mother heard signals, like,
Mhm.
it's affecting everybody. Like there's something to go explore and find here. But then she like presents this explanation both to Paul and to Marcus. And they're both sort of like, close enough. You're a believer of soul now. Like, no, she just said, like, I think there's an alien with a signal, and you're both talking about a God who's omnipresent and has a mission and a vision. And, these are very, very different things. And you can't just be like, good enough. Like,
But she kinda softened on it. She kinda stopped
but
distinguishing, you
That's
know?
that's what I mean. They were both like good enough and then suddenly she was like praise soul and I was like that is not the same thing you said 10 minutes ago in the episode where you were talking about an alien with a signal. You know what I mean?
I
So that's sort of like the Paul and Marcus acceptance and then her just suddenly going from there's a rational logical explanation that I find, you know, to have some sort of mystical elements to maybe to like I'm in. Saul has a plan. There, Saul's back. Not well done. Not well done in my opinion.
I think
I
they
almost
even Go ahead.
I was gonna say it almost made it seem to me like that she was coming at it from almost a sense of like resignation or almost hopelessness that like clearly this is a very powerful being or alien or whatever it is and like I'm just gonna give in to it at this point.
I
Yeah,
read it and
I
I
didn't feel that transition
Mm.
from like you know what I mean? It was so like rational and logical and interesting and I thought like, "Ooh, let's go explore this." Like why doesn't she go like find the signal or whatever? To I'm all in on Saul and his big plan and we three have to do it together. Like mm, I
I
didn't
think they
feel that
even
shift.
maybe even alluded to in the post, like, credit, talk or
Mhm.
whatever, that she's kind of she's sort of giving up something here to just be happy with her family. You know, a lot of people, whether they're getting married or they're just even dating or whatever this, they move someplace, whatever it is,
Mhm.
they might convert religions, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not because, wow, I really had a come to Jesus moment or whatever. It's a convenience and it's
Mhm.
a I this is close enough. I can live this culturally.
Mhm.
And to me, it's like with having Paul back when she figures he's firstly he's runs away and hates her. Then he's like she has to be faced with him dying and
Mhm.
then is able to have him come back from a crazy vision. It's just such a roller coaster of emotions and stuff that I feel that she's taking this opportunity to be like, I just let's
Mhm.
have this happiness and praise soul. Like,
And
let's
and
do it.
I could get there. I just needed just like something a little bit more in the middle from because as a viewer, I think I was disappointed because I was very excited to get into this mystery and we still could. I mean,
Mhm.
they haven't closed the door
Mhm.
on that. But I was just very interested to get into that from that perspective. And then I was disappointed when she just sort of like shifted and my brain eventually, kind of caught up. Like I think she's just happy to be with her family. She's just gonna roll with the punches, you know. They're all back together again. But I was also, a little off balance from the other side. Like I said, she's saying these things both to Paul and to Marcus, and they're just sort of like good enough. Whereas, like, I felt like they've been such hardcore true believers of soul. Wouldn't they like keep trying to push her to get that extra step? You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like,
Yeah.
they just sort of roll with like it's an alien with a signal, and Paul's response is like, "What's the difference between an alien and God?" And that doesn't feel in line with a lot of his other responses to other characters, like when Campion questions things about
Mm.
soul, and he's such like a soul is a plan, and you just have to believe. And also Marcus with, like, growing his flock and, like, being a prophet, teaching Soul's message, like, it feels odd that he doesn't also push, she's already, like, tiptoeing up to that line. Maybe what I needed to see was, like, him pushing her over the line, and then we see the happy family together praising Soul. You know what I mean? It just felt like there was
Sure.
one skipped moment that
You
could have.
wanted another scene. You
I
wanted another
did. I
scene.
wanted I wanted one thing to tie us to that next bit, and then
Mhm.
I think I could have gotten there, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little nitpicky, but it just felt like I just needed one more.
Well, I definitely was, so again, more to Soul's plan. Marcus takes the tooth. He goes down, and the
Mhm.
tooth is like interacts with him going down. Like if he hadn't brought that tooth, the thing would have never woken up.
Mhm.
Interesting. That's very interesting. And I didn't understand what's going on there. And again, the post credits they explain that this creature had managed to not regress like the rest of the creatures had on the planet. And
Mhm.
when he came in contact with the tooth, nanobots released from it and like forcibly regressed him. Now, I thought it was very interesting, but it's like that was not understood at all watching
Mm-mm.
the
No.
show. Like I would,
No.
you're like, well, that happened. You know,
I
Yeah.
went
I don't
back
know
and watched
why,
the
but
whole scene again because I was like, "Did I miss something? Like, what
Right.
just happened?"
Did I glance away from the screen for 1 second and that was
Yeah.
the crucial second? Yeah, absolutely.
so I appreciate the mystery, but if they're creating it as a mystery like that, then they shouldn't be telling us in the post credit what
Mhm.
happened. Because
Yep.
if you're creating that mystery, it should be for a reason, and that reason is to explain it later because it needs, it can be explained later, not off
Or you
screen.
again, you need the one extra moment.
Mhm.
I don't know what that moment would be though. Hey, look, this
I don't
tooth. Does it look like it's made of nanobots?
well, I mean, you could, like, show nanobots.
Yeah.
You know what I
Just
mean?
someone, yeah, someone
Yeah,
would
there could have been
like the,
something.
yeah, yeah.
They've
No,
So
it'd be
also
or at
come
like,
up
least
with
a
other
something.
other pieces of technology throughout this 2nd season that we're all kind of like, "Oh, great. There's just this little piece of technology that's gonna be exactly what we need in this moment." There could have been something in that moment that,
Mhm.
mhm,
explained
mhm.
it.
Well,
Yep.
the tooth could have made its way to the archives first and been
Mhm.
studied, and they'd be scanning it and be like, "Look at the composition of this. This is not just a tooth. This is made up of tiny, tiny little machines," you know? And then we'd
Mhm.
have that piece of it. We still wouldn't know why it would interact with the creature.
Right, but at least we would get like,
Mhm,
"Ooh," like, there's something reacting here, not just
mhm.
like mystical tooth equals,
Right.
you know?
But it's very interesting because that means that this, uh on this planet, now we have creatures we know the ones that they've killed that have been causing them trouble used to be some more human-like thing.
Mhm.
So, what kind of sentient thought is it capable and stuff? I thought that was a pretty big reveal,
Mhm.
honestly. And so and he was holding on to a Mithraic card and stuff. And so and there was he's like he was hiding from the snake that was down there, the giant serpent, because they had the skeleton.
Mhm.
So we're kind of setting up what is this thing? It's like the serpents versus the original Mithraic people,
Mhm.
because then they were trying to open the box for the
Mhm.
seed and the serpents freaking out. So what do we think? Where's our mind? Where are our minds going on this? Like, what is this conflict between the two, or why? What?
Boy, I honestly I cannot give any guesses or theories off the top of my head because I feel like the mother serpent baby has for being such a crucial storyline that gets brought up all the time. We still don't really know much about it and its origin. You know what I mean? Like for being such a central character to a lot of things and at the heart of a lot of conflict, especially between mother and father. And now a little bit between like Campion and the other Mithraic kids. There's still no like how this happened, why this happened. Although there was definitely something at the very very beginning of episode 5 where Paul's still like in his little sack created by
Very
the
gross.
yeah, still super gross. But they start talking about like what's happening in there and how he's like changing like in his and
Yes,
mother's like his DNA is evolving into
turning
like a
into a
snake
snake.
thing.
Yes,
And I was
But
like, "What is this out of left field? Like, does
yeah,
it mean like a snake baby thing or does it mean something else?"
the virus was
And
created by
then
the trust, and
yep.
so how does
but
that
then
even make sense?
But see, I think it
but
does make
then
sense.
because yes, like soul, quote unquote, I don't know whatever it is, alien god whatever, gives Sue the vision to stop this from happening.
Mhm.
You know what
Yes,
I mean? Like Paul's
right.
maybe going to turn into a snake and soul can't have that. So he
Yes,
gives Sue the way to
yes,
not have him be a snake, thus keeping him in the Mithraic camp and like beating snake people.
yes. Because this is a war that's been fought for clearly a very long time, and so you have the Mithraic, ancient Mithraic on one side. There are these like
Mhm.
devolved humans, and that still have some being that is like shaping the world in their favor. And then the other side, you have the snakes, you have the serpents,
Plus
because
maybe the
which with
trusts.
with the atheists. So
Mhm.
the atheists and that whole side, that's all because the creator of Mother and the Trust is the one that in her visions and stuff while she's plugged in impregnates Mother with a
With a
serpent,
snake.
and
Mhm.
then is trying to turn Paul into a snake, and the
Mhm.
snake freaks out when the Mithraic box is about to be opened for the seed. So there are constantly these two forces at work. So you clearly it's like the atheists are being controlled by a higher power as well to defeat the Mithraic, and the Mithraic know that the serpents and the atheists and all that are, I don't know. It's kind of in a weird way falling into place, at least the sides of this battle.
Yeah, the why still feels like
Yeah,
eh,
why serpents?
Mm.
Like,
yeah.
what's the atheist goal on Earth to like start an atheist society someplace, and it's made up of serpents, or like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, why, when everyone's fleeing Earth, was there just this one planet?
Oh, like
Right.
this is the only habitable planet? Oh, or
Yeah.
yeah, where like where it started before, so clearly
Yeah.
there was life here that your religions came from? Are they
But
suggesting that life on Earth started from this planet instead?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's an
It's a lot of
interesting, yeah,
it's a
and it
lot of
doesn't
conjecture. They haven't quite laid it out.
seem like any of the characters, even the androids, like, and no one is aware of the fact that there were humanoid somethings on this planet, or that there was any reason to go to this planet other than that it was habitable.
Right.
Mhm.
So is that just a function of this universe that, yes, there are literally only 2 habitable planets, and you came from this one and you went to this other one? Or is this still, like, being orchestrated by
Manipulated,
somebody
yeah.
else that
Right.
he would end up this both at this place?
Mhm.
Which I think is a perfectly logical and reasonable assumption to make, especially given that in these 2 episodes, they talk a lot about reprogramming,
Mhm,
and
Mm.
they talk about it both with regard to humans and androids, like humans
mhm,
reprogramming androids, and now, like, in this episode where, like, Mother is talking about reprogramming, and, like, I just stopped and paused and reveled in the, like, irony of an android being like, "I can reprogram you," like, oof, so good. Um,
mhm,
but just, like, the mere suggestion of, like, reprogramming memories and things like that to be something different than what they are is, like, such, like, a huge gift to us as an audience, and also to the writers to be like, we could do something with reprogramming, and have, you know part be part of a whole big plan that nobody is aware of because they're all reprogrammed. And
mhm.
it's just it was just such, like, an interesting philosophical avenue to explore in this very specific situation. And then also, like, broader for the show could be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. How many people have been reprogrammed by the trust
Hmm.
kind of thing? And then are
Has Mother
you
been reprogrammed?
yeah. Well, so maybe we want to talk about that a little bit because mother and father and going into,
Good.
you know, they're they're making some odd calls and father does bring up as we've talked about on the show like hey, maybe we're too becoming too human to make the calls that to serve the function we were originally supposed to.
Mhm.
Mother kind of shuts that down, but later sort of, yeah, maybe that's the case, kind of admits to it. So, what do we think of mother and father in these couple episodes and how they're developing and what's happening between those two?
It's so good. It's so good for me. Like, their, like, first conversation between each other was just, like, such a human and passive aggressive and,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
whataboutism. It was just, oh, it was so, like, I could just see, like, I mean, obviously not about, like, this subject, but just, like, see, like, millions of couples all over, our planet here having, like, these same types of conversations about, like, there's jealousy in there, there's, like I said, there's whataboutism, and, like, "Oh, you don't seem to feel this way about my kid," and, like, "Oh, it's so interesting that you, like, bend the rules for your little thing and don't see it about my way," and,
Hmm.
ah, like, it was so relatable, even though, like, the things they were discussing were just so, like, beyond what we have. Like, father's talking about his pet project, which is like an android being, and
Hmm.
mother's talking about her child, which is a snake thing. But the essence of it,
Yeah. Right.
just so human and excellent, and a great job by these actors.
Mhm.
I felt riveted.
Um, I don't want to like just rush on from mother and father. I'm sure they'll come up some more, but we should also get to like in the next episode. We've got a few big things. So we've got the idea that where we end with the tree and that coming to fruition, but then also with
Mhm.
Tempest. So this is a crazy. Eventually you knew that was going to happen. So we finally got that moment with Tempest and it definitely kept me on the edge of my seat for what she was gonna do.
Yeah. Did you just think for a minute that she was just gonna, like, throw the baby into the
I
acid?
did.
Yeah.
I I mean, that's the fear
Watch
they
the whole
created that
scene with that
Mhm.
expectation. That
yeah,
expectation and that dread. I was just like, "No!" Like, she's just gonna or the wave is
Mhm.
gonna come up.
Mhm.
right, take them both. I thought about that too, yeah, something like
Mhm.
that. Mhm. No, it was scary, and it is a failing of mother and father, like, when they kind of both admit it then at the end, how we failed, where they are so distracted with so many other things that, um, they probably don't need to be. Like, why does mother need to be worrying about trying to get Campion to go and talk to everybody all the time,
Mhm.
going it's like he's a kid yet, okay? You got things falling apart around you. Let's not worry about getting Campion to like make friends with all the atheists right now. You've got other kids missing and running off, and you've got one that very seriously does not want her baby. Like,
Mhm.
I think that would be immediate, constant attention, frankly,
Right.
and, definitely a failing of th them as parents and as the siblings as well. Like, what better do you have? They already destroyed the one kid's video game, so
Mhm.
you better spend all your waking moments with Tempest or something, It's like Suicide Watch kind of thing, like,
Yeah.
pay attention here.
Yeah. Yeah, their kids have so many issues. Poor mother. um, yeah, I mean, I feel here I think mother is trying to follow her original directive and problem solve with Campion because their goal is to raise like children to flourish in an atheist colony and Campion taking over like the leader of the atheist colony like as the leader, excuse me. I mean, fulfills that goal and also like drags him away from his like random newfound belief in soul, which
Mhm.
of course mother is like this is like the opposite of everything I was supposed to do. Like,
Yes.
holy crap, this is not good. Um, so I mean, I think she's trying to problem solve, but it's clearly not like I agree, it's not the most pressing problem of all her
Right,
kids.
right,
They
Like,
even knew exactly when she was going to have the baby. Like,
right.
they
who
knew it
just
was
leaves
gonna be
her
that day.
for
Mhm.
5 hours beforehand? Like, I'll
Yeah.
see you in 5 hours for the birth. Like, she's been so traumatized up to this point that you're just like 5 hours alone is what you need.
Yeah.
She'd be in the what they call it, the tarantula with Sue. Like, you make sure Sue is there and stuff, and, like, this is,
Right.
terribly mismanaged.
Yeah.
There's also I don't know, I found the entire conversation where, she's sitting there telling Tempest, like, "Well, once you see this baby, you're gonna love this baby." I found that whole conversation just, like, super cringy,
Super problematic, yeah.
and super problematic, and I think the whole idea of, like, Tempest's bodily autonomy is another theme throughout this, and, like, just the complete disregard for any of the trauma
Right.
or her control over her body and her baby. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
the former part of that was definitely the issue I had here, where there's no sympathy here. Like, and
Mhm.
you can't what can mother do to guarantee that you'll love this baby?
Mhm.
You can hope that, you can
Mhm,
hope for it, but you can't make that promise,
Well, and it's
And
it's a lot of expectation to put on her and a lot
mhm,
of, like, pressure to put on her on somebody who's already clearly mentally and emotionally fragile, and to add that, like, guilt of, "Well, once you see it, you're gonna love it." Well, then the second you say that out loud, it creates the fear of, "Oh my god, if I don't,
right.
what does
mhm,
that mean about me as a
I'm a terrible
person? And
person.
do I
Yeah.
and yeah, do I want to find that out or don't I? Or will I do everything to avoid that moment? So in
mhm,
a way,
Mhm.
like mother like creates this situation or like at least accelerates the pressure on this moment.
mhm,
Well, and the interesting thing is, like, if with the way that maybe it's just the way things were escalating out of control at this point, and how many like uh pots, pokers in the fire, whatever, that this was able to this important thing is able to slip through. But previously, with this kind of attention, she could have aborted her own baby if she had chosen to. Because I feel like before it's like we're gonna, you know, we want to make sure we're here for you, kind of thing, and then that all just went away. I
Mhm.
feel like, and so I don't know. I think that it's was the show trying to set us up where she would have liked to have aborted her baby, but felt she was unable to because she was watched? Or is the show is telling us that she just really didn't know? She's like, I don't want to kill this baby, but I don't want to have the pain of looking at it, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so, be, because then she's lost the couple that was going to take it. Well, the mother and father said we'll take it. Well, I don't want to see it. I don't know. What other thoughts do you have on it? It was like the whole thing for
Yeah.
me was pretty traumatic.
It's a fair statement to make. I mean, obviously, like, mother offering to take the baby is a solution, but it's not an ideal one for Tempest, and I don't think that it should have to be. You know? It's a fair statement to make, this to wonder out loud, would I feel this way every time I saw my baby's face? Which she would if mother and father took it. Um, and she just doesn't have a kind of great sounding board. Even even though mother should be kind of the one um relating with her the most, in terms of, like, not like her snake baby was like unwanted, because she very much wanted it, but like it's nothing like what she thought, like, she feels now kind of tricked and betrayed into having it, like, there should be some more nuance, especially with her newfound human emotions that are emerging in her.
Yeah.
There should be room and space for those conversations, and mother's just, like, really glossing over it hard.
I mean, mother went with a massive, rocket launcher to kill her baby. So it
Yeah.
seems like there should have been some compassion there around like this. I could
Yeah.
identify with this situation that was not of your design and you're trying to make your way through it.
Mhm.
And maybe even sue, you know, something like that. Going through obviously some crazy stuff with her own now adopted son.
Mhm.
Or what's the name of the guy that gets along with father well? The kid.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably
Like,
the most empathetic towards her.
yeah. It
Yeah.
just I don't know. It just was surprising to me, and then obviously it sets up with the way everybody is like all dealing with their own things,
Mhm.
sets up the bigger tension. Like, well, what is she going to do then? Because we don't get those conversations, we
Mhm.
don't get the sympathy, we don't, none of that. So,
Mhm.
And I
but
couldn't remember too. I had to go back and try and remember from the first season if there had ever been an actual conversation or something about her trying to end the pregnancy.
Mhm.
I
I
I
think
feel
there
like
She
there
real
did.
early
was.
was,
Mhm.
She
wasn't it?
did.
With
She
having
did.
stealing the scalpel and stuff or
Yeah,
Yep.
something?
She was in, like, mother and father's, like,
their
dome globe
tent. Yeah.
thing. Yeah. And she tried, and mother caught her and
Mhm.
was like, "Don't ever do that again." Yeah. I don't remember exactly the specifics, but she definitely made an attempt.
But you
Yeah.
think then after that point, there would have been a more like, they just kinda forgot
Yeah.
about it at some point. I think there was
Well
a extra protective nature at some point, and then it just
Mhm.
sort of, you
Well,
know
and I think because they felt it was resolved with, I found this couple to take my baby,
Sure.
and she seems so happy.
Right.
I mean, there was just such, like, a reversal, because everything was gonna be fine. Like, she was gonna have the baby, she was sort of resigned to that, but she was like, "This is a perfect situation, they want the baby, they seem nice, I'm
Yep.
flourishing, this is great." So they really relaxed their guard, and I felt like they didn't appropriately respond
Mhm.
to the trauma of, Tempest now losing that,
Mhm.
and being thrown back into that uncertainty of what is gonna happen, and I never really wanted this baby, and now it looks like I'm gonna be forced into not only having, but also keeping the baby,
Or being able to see it all the time,
or
seeing it
being
all
able
the
to
time.
see it. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then, of course, she doesn't throw it in the acid water, but
She
it gets
never
taken and absorbed
Yeah, just
into the chest
another
cavity of
another,
I
"What the
just
hell
wrote
was that?"
Yeah.
yeah, I my note on that scene was WT actual F. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
what? What?
Yep.
Like, what? They're throwing a lot at us with these people, these,
Yep.
like, ocean devolved people, whatever
Yeah.
and whoever they
And
are, that there's a lot happening in these episodes.
and why wasn't the baby hurt by the acid?
Yep.
Oh, when he, like, touched her because she got some
Yeah,
burns?
she got burned, like, that's what made her let
And
go
she was, like,
because he
holding the
touched
baby.
her.
Yeah.
She was holding the baby, and then he grabbed her arms and burned her, which is, like, how she ended up letting go, but then he could just, like, pick up the baby, and the baby wasn't
And
burned.
fold it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it
because
something about, like, because it's, like, the first one born on this planet?
well, or because Soul commanded the one guy to be fruitful. And so that's what's born out of this. And so it's a holy birth. The baby is
Maybe.
powers. That's the real Messiah.
The baby has powers.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Maybe.
It
Maybe.
could be because the atheists are looking for the snakes to
Mhm.
meet a resurgence, and I don't know,
Yeah, Mother had her version of
distinguish
a
all the
birth.
Mithraic. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
distinguish
So
all the
mother
Mithraic.
added to the population, and so now, Soul's gotta add
Mhm.
to the population.
They each have their savior now.
Mm. I think it's gonna come, like, baby versus
Snake.
baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
snake baby.
Baby versus baby.
Mhm.
It'd be interesting.
Next
I found
season,
it
we're just gonna
interesting.
skip 25 years in the future.
I found it interesting though that like at one point wasn't like the snake supposed to be like the sword or the
Mhm.
staff or
Yes,
something in the prophecy, and then that just got like
misinterpretation, I would
yeah,
say.
that just
Yeah.
got like thrown away.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, more questions there. Um,
Hmm.
I definitely
Speaking of
want to.
other births, tree.
Oh, yes.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. Yes, we can talk tree. So again, to the plan, like, okay, Paul just happens to ask Sue to sing him a lullaby,
Mhm.
and she sings a religious one, and the thing opens up,
All it needed.
and and what I wrote it down in the notes when it happened. Don't promise you'll do anything unless you mean it. And so this is a beautiful thing in a way because she promised Soul, I'll do anything if you save Paul. Soul showed her how to save Paul, and in return, she becomes the life essence to bore the tree of knowledge.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're writing scriptures for some sort of new, what
Mhm.
What
origin,
a story this is.
Mhm.
yeah, that's pretty nice, really. So, why does a fruit look like brains?
It's pieces of her brains.
I was gonna say it's her, right? Like,
I mean, why does
yeah.
all the fruit on this planet look disgusting, right?
I
Everything
know.
is like
I would
gooey
not eat
and
the fruit on this planet. 0
mhm.
out of 10. Like, no. Negative stars. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, it's a whole sacrifice there, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean,
Mhm.
the tree, like, she is now like the body.
and she, like, embraced it. Again, like, she went
Mhm.
out strong, "I'm gonna do anything to save this who I've taken as my son now,"
Right.
and I think she was ready for it, and, like, she saw it when in her hand, she's like, "Yeah, this," she made the connection. "This is happening. Start digging a hole," you know?
Mhm.
Um, so I thought it was pretty beautiful, really, and
Mm.
not unexpected, but pretty cool. And at the same, also when Marcus begins to realize that this is what has happened. I mean, I don't know if your
Mhm.
mind would go to that, but his did, and
Mhm.
he realized. So
I
I
feel
thought
like
that was
his brain would.
Mhm.
okay.
You know what I
Sure,
mean? Like,
Yeah.
just being, like, so
devoted
recently in,
enough,
like,
and
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm the prophet of soul, like, he would totally skip to, like, "My family is blessed, my wife becomes the tree of knowledge, like, I am the prophet," like,
Mhm.
Paul's got a role somewhere in there too, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
Yeah.
his brain would definitely leap there.
I
Um,
wondered too if that ties in with some of what you were talking about too, that discomfort around her acceptance of soul, if some of it was a little bit of this like, I have promised to do these things, and so I just gotta go with it now.
Sure. Sure.
she's getting new instructions.
Mhm.
Go
Mhm.
break in, steal the seed. Yep,
Yep.
Mhm.
Like
yep. Um, the other thing I for sure want to talk about before anything we wrap up or something like that is
Mhm.
about how it's pretty interesting that mother took shut down the trust and now is ready to she tells Paul um that um I have to do what is best to help all my children. Or she tells
Mm.
Campion this, tells Campion
Mhm.
to do what's best to help all my children, not just Paul. I'm like, that sounds shockingly similar to the kind of sentiment that the trust would put forth.
Mhm.
Um, and so she's all of a sudden like taking on this role with not that much that's different. It's
Mhm.
different in tone, and that she has a form to express it and stuff. But I don't know. The trust has just been replaced by the
Yeah.
trust in a way. And
Mhm.
then she's going to go and openly martyr someone. Like, this is such the role reversal versus like, it just shows that I just like the way this is framed. They have whoever's in authority here decides to martyr someone else, therefore creating extra strength for that cause because normally that would be the idea would be, you know, you do that to someone of a religion. Well, now we're
Mhm.
doing it to the I don't know, the atheists are the one doing it, you know,
Mhm.
Mhm.
because they have Marcus standing there, renounce your religion. Is that really useful or beneficial to you in any way? If
Well,
Marcus renounces his religion by force?
and also, like, nobody asks somebody the second they come in to renounce their religion. Do you know what I mean? Who has ever like gone out and captured someone, brought them in, and be like, "Hey, we got you want to renounce your religion?" Like, nobody is that persuadable. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't
Yeah,
trot
and
him out
I
in front of the
unless it's a
entire atheist colony. You know what I mean? A guy like
at
Marcus
gunpoint.
anyway. You know what I mean?
I
Like a
yeah,
leader, a prophet who like is totally sold on all of this. You don't trot him out the first hour that you've captured him and ask him to renounce. You can trot him out and be like, "Look what we did. We got him."
right.
Mhm.
But like to ask him the question of like, do you like renounce your religion? He's not going to do that in like the first 10 minutes. Marcus is a guy who like if he breaks, it's gonna be a while.
Mhm.
So maybe don't, you know,
Mhm.
give him that platform to talk about, like, his religion and he's not renouncing it yet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just a thought.
Mhm.
I thought she like, really the only part that made sense to me was the point that, like, well, if you kill him, you prove that he is not immortal or,
Yeah,
magical. So, yeah, you accomplished that.
yeah,
It's true.
Yeah.
But you
mhm.
make anyone that believes, that he's willing to die for
Mhm.
with his belief, you know?
Which which is funny because she doesn't really know that Marcus doesn't really have a following anymore
Yeah.
because Android Girl
Mhm.
took him out. So, you know what I mean? Like, if you kill Marcus and, like, maybe
Yeah.
Paul believes, Sue at that particular moment, she like believes in like an
Yeah.
alien signal, could have gone back stronger towards like the alien signal business rather
Mhm.
than coming around to Saul. You know what I'm saying? So like you kill
She's not
Marcus, maybe
yeah.
maybe Paul is pissed. Campion's not anymore, I don't think, because he figured out that grandmother or whatever we're calling father's new android friend was the thing he saw that he thought was Saul but isn't.
Mhm.
So yeah, so really you've only got Paul who would care that Marcus dies.
Mhm.
Well,
Could have been
and
a big problem solved
yeah.
right there.
Well, and Sue. I mean, I mentioned Sue, but, I think
I mean, yeah, she would have cared. I think she would have cared more because of Paul rather than
Mhm.
herself, and I think, like, it's the following scenes that get
I
her, like,
mean,
suckered back into caring.
they were a couple for a long time. They fought war together, they were in love. They killed people and took their face to, like they
True.
lived this lie together for a long time. So I think it's a pretty big betrayal when things split up. But then she also apologizes, like, I thought you were nuts, but I'm hearing this voice now too,
Mhm.
Mhm.
you know? And so to me, it was I mean, immediately knew, of course, this happy moment wasn't gonna last, but, like, I
Right.
thought all that rang true, Paul was, like, back, he's okay accepting, like, "These are my parents." Sue and
Mhm.
Marcus are like, "We can forgive each other, like, we're back." It's like, it really felt like a family unit there, and I think that that shows too in Marcus's reaction at the end. You're not only in Sue's
Mhm.
apology to Marcus, but then Marcus's reaction when he realizes she's dead.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, like,
Or
I
free.
Yeah.
what's or yeah. Yeah, live in a different way.
Mhm.
I mean, I
Yep.
don't know. I don't know what the rules are. Like, the tree could open up a cavern and Sue could be inside, much like the people with the baby. I don't know.
Mhm. It's a little bit of that classic, like, we didn't actually see what happened to her, so they left the door a little open.
Right. Like, I'm not holding out a ton of hope, but like, maybe?
Yeah, I'm glad we got a lot of Sue because I felt,
Her
I'm sad
storyline
she's
was weak.
gone.
Mhm.
Uh, well, yeah, see, but so, like you were talking, she was the one that was pushing for the, investigation of the signal. She was the one that was on to Mother with having the snake baby. You know,
Yeah,
I
I felt like in episodes like 3 and 4, she was kind of like blippy, like in and out, and then in these
Mhm.
2, there was like a hard push to focus on her, which
Mhm.
was a good thing to like sort of bring her back to the forefront so that we could miss her now that she's a tree.
Yeah. I definitely like wrote down when she went in to Paul's chamber there in her hazmat. I'm like, have you not seen Alien?
I know, I
Like,
know.
I mean, Ridley Scott's attached to this.
Girl,
Don't do it.
girl, and then she just takes it off.
I
Ah,
know.
why
"Why'd
would
you
What
take
would
she do
you
it off?"
do?
anything? And she's
I mean,
fine somehow.
it's a vision.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it was crazy. That was
That
crazy.
was a great trick. Um, I guess you did bring it up, grandmother. I thought there was a lot of assumptions being made about
Mhm.
grandmother and the way that I don't know. It's very forward of mother to shut her down. Kind of understandable. Like we don't know, Um, but I don't know. Again, a very big mystery, a very
Yeah.
big time distraction for them when they again could have been focusing on Tempest. Um, but
Mhm.
yeah,
But it was such like a great again, like contributing to their like humanity, you
yes.
know? There was jealousy, there was interest, there was a little something for father. Like you were saying, there could be like a love triangle for father. And she just straight out is like, "Oh, are you my partner?" And father's like, "Oh, I'm not your partner." Like
Yeah.
so there was like a little flirting going on there. If
Yeah.
androids can flirt. I
Mother's
mean,
like, "Her hips are way bigger than mine.
right?
Look at this
She's
hoe
got it
over here."
working.
Yeah.
But then they were so similar. Like mother says, like they're built from like similar processors, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
the way that like mother activates and like holds herself up, like grandmother does the same thing when she sort of like activates into whatever that gold mode is. You know, there was a lot of possibility there for mother being threatened and father kind
Mhm.
of, breaking from his partnership, which they kind of had to drop because of course so many other things had to happen
Yeah.
in these 2 episodes. But now we have space to pick that back up. And I'm
Mhm.
very intrigued.
Yep. So, what are we missing? Anything that, has gone unsaid, people wanna talk about, or
Yeah.
stones unturned?
Yeah. Anything you guys I felt like I had a lot of reactions to these 2 episodes, so
We're covering
feel
them
free to
in the right
feel free to jump in.
order, because I feel like every couple episodes, it's been the big cliffhangers. We're now
Mhm.
again at a big cliffhanger, like, "Man, what's going on?" So many. I hope they don't leave the season with too many
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah.
but
I hope they learned their lesson from season 1. Um, I did have, like, a note at the end of 5 when we kind of, like, hear the voices going on. Did anybody else, like, feel like the voice could maybe be the trust at all? I'm still stuck
no.
on the idea that it was, like, super
Nope.
easy for a mother to shut down the trust, and that
Nope.
there's maybe, like, a backup trust somewhere sending out these signals, or, like, it's not really shut down.
I'm firmly on the idea now that the trust, the atheists, the programmer of mother, all this is the serpent atheist side. And on the other side, we have the Mithraic, the devolved humans,
Mhm.
and the voice of Saul. And so I
So
feel that
so
those are
the
the two
voice of
separate
Saul
entities.
isn't, like, an alien thing?
It could be, but
Or is it a
of those, like,
Mithraic thing?
creatures, maybe well, alien slash Mithraic, because I feel like these creatures that have devolved, maybe there's some part of the planet where they instead continue to advance as opposed to
Mm.
regress into these
Just
Okay.
haven't
creatures,
met
and
them
so
yet.
they're still, like,
Out
scripting
there?
things. Yeah, they're still, but I feel like the Mithraic slash aliens, they're one thing. And then we have snakes and atheists on the opposing side.
Okay.
Nobody is interesting because nobody is consciously aware of any plan, like the
Right.
characters.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Nobody understands a grand scheme.
we don't
Yeah, they know
know.
their, like, core directives kinda thing.
Yeah. We don't know who on we don't have a name for somebody on the snake atheist side that is the visionary or the person. Like, it seems like it's Soul on on the
Hmm.
Mithraic side, like, maybe this entity that is driving all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was
First
the
champion.
trust, though.
I think first
But
Yeah,
champion.
but
slash
was
first
it,
champion.
or was the
I mean,
trust really
the
just
col
another
yeah, I mean, the
puppet
way the
being controlled?
collective yeah, the way the collective behaved, it felt like they thought it was the trust.
Mhm.
But the
So,
architect
if
of the
there
trust,
is but, I mean, they never mention him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no,
mhm,
like, reverence of, like, Campy and the
because you're
architect
not
built the
supposed
trust.
to as an atheist. You're
Right, but
not
that's what I'm
supposed to
saying. So
have a
then
religion.
they're not supposed to, so they didn't center it around a person, they centered it around a machine.
Yes. And they're not seeing the
So
irony
there's
of
like
their
that,
own
yeah,
things.
exactly. There's a transference there, and they think like, "Oh, we're just like, believing in intellect, but in a very logical, reasonable fashion because, look at all these steps of why it's better." They're not really acknowledging their own like blind faith in this,
Mhm,
computational being rather than like a god. So
mhm.
I feel like on the other side, it was the trust, and that's perhaps why I'm sort of like still toying around with the idea that the trust isn't really dead. Like mother didn't really shut it off.
I mean, I think it can be brought back. I don't think it's gone. Like it's I mean, look at the androids, how you can just pour some fuel blood on them and they come back from thousands of years ago
Yeah,
or whatever,
true, true,
like,
true.
so I definitely think it's alive, quote unquote. The data is there,
Yeah.
Also,
but I
it
don't
You
think
just
seems
don't
it's
like
think it's on right now.
right.
they don't really need it because if it seems like Mother has taken on the same role.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what really is the point of, like, the trust other than that it was multiple ways maybe of getting to the same end?
Mhm.
Well, it shook the faith of the atheists because if the atheists had faith in the trust.
Mm,
Mhm.
Trust in the trust. And
it's true.
now that's been upheaved and turned over, and mother is in charge. So now, yeah, effectively we're getting kind of the same management, but
Mhm.
without the faith of the flock.
Right.
Mm.
So is this even more like true to an atheist vision?
More true.
Because
Like
there's less
mother
of
in
the blind
charge.
faith.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
less like all our faith because like not everybody has faith in mother. So is it
Right.
weirdly in a way more like more like the ideal of an atheist society?
Yeah. Yeah. I I mean, it's just the interesting tack that they've taken to now demand that this must be an atheist society. Not that
Mhm.
we are atheists and this is why we choose to like guide ourselves by logic, but no, if you don't accept this as the guiding light, then
Mhm.
you're out of here, you know. Renounce it, quit it, get out, like it spurs on anger. So it's like, I don't know. You're just
Yeah.
bringing the problems because they're not seeing the problem with organized religion being the fact that it's controlling of a population. Instead, they're
Mhm.
seeing no, just the fact that it's wrong is the problem.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we'll control the population how we see fit.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's not that, so
Wasn't the
Yeah.
control that anybody objected to.
yeah, right.
It's
yeah.
like the matrix of the control. It's the parameters, the belief. Yeah.
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 It's so strange. It's such a human thing to think.
Mhm. I love it. I just love how they're exploring
Mhm.
all this. I like the different take on it. I like the, I can't think of another thing where they explore potential atheistic society that I know of or whatever, and how that would look, and
Mhm.
so despite maybe some of the fantastical elements that I'm like, okay, you gotta have answers for these things now.
Right.
Um, I'm enjoying it a lot. So.
Agreed.
They don't have a lot to do in 2 episodes to answer all of our questions.
I know,
Yes.
yeah, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Which is fine,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do need, like, at least some of them,
yeah.
preferably a majority.
Well,
Leave me with less of a cliffhanger than from season 1.
or maybe if we
That's
have
my
enough
ask.
questions right now that we don't get more dropped in the last episode.
Right.
Mm.
Like in the last episode, grandmother births a snake baby too. Oh my god.
God damn! Oh,
Ugh.
yeah.
So, okay. Well, cool. As long as there's nothing else to be said,
Mhm.
that is Raised by Wolves season 2, episodes 5 and 6. As we've mentioned, only 2 episodes remain in this season. So we'll be on episode 99 when we cover the remaining 2, the season finale of Raised by a Wolf season 2. So,
Mhm.
all right. I mean, what a way. Episode 99. Um, that's Popcast on the Rocks, episode 97. Thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for the lively chat. You should follow us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all those places. Check out my morning show. I do sometimes when there's anime things to talk about. Follow on Twitter, turn on notifications so you know when that's happening. Otherwise, we do this once a week. Please like, share, subscribe, all that sort of fun stuff. Thank you to Killing the Flower for our theme song. You can check them out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Spotify. That's the one, not Facebook, Spotify. Um, our podcast, this is available in podcast form as well. So take your favorite podcast directory and please leave us a review wherever you listen, that kind of thing. Emily, is there anything you want to plug or anything? A novella that you've written that we are unaware of, or like
Novella. I do have grand visions of someday writing my own science fiction. I will get back to you,
nice,
when I get to the story of my space doctor,
cool,
Uh,
journeys, but
can you promise us the exclusive?
ooh, yes, we
yeah,
can I'll make
all
it
right,
official. Yes.
Yeah.
awesome, all right.
Excellent. Excellent.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for
Pleasure to have
having
you
me. It's
back.
great.
Yeah. And Andrea, thanks for, as always, for joining me.
Of course. Cheers,
And
everybody.
yeah, see you next time.